Anyway, back to the history, and back to Rick Keppler and Kim Sweet, and more history about Big Bear in relatively modern history, right?
Sort of modern history now, yeah. Well, no, I want to thank you. You've helped us over the years with our history shows, which is going to be airing this weekend, and many times. And every time we go out to your house, I know you've talked about this before, but your house, Noel's house, is a museum.
Well, it's like it's got all the same old furniture, and it's just an old house.
You ought to charge money to go in there because basically the furniture is the original, the carpeting is original. You've taken I don't know how you live there.
By the moths and the holes in it.
And but what always amazes me, and I know you've talked about this before, but I don't think people really understand the photographs that you have on the walls. And these aren't just signed photographs by celebrities. I'm talking photographs of you and your dad in every single one with them. The stories
you
are
want to see
behind
some of
all.
them?
We would love to.
Yeah, don't even,
That's one of the walls, but that's a poster that Warner Brothers just put out. They put out 500 of those, and it's called Passing the Baton, and that's with my dad passing the baton to me at the Hollywood Bowl, and with the characters all at the Hollywood Bowl. And I think there were 500 of those put out by Warner Brothers last year. But that's one of the picture walls. You can keep going ahead.
Yeah, and I don't want to explain to people, these are all over the house. I rounded a corner in your house, and go ahead, Tom, put that next one up.
That's called the President's Wall.
Yes.
If you notice, the wallpaper is the same wallpaper from 1946.
It's
Everything's
fabulous.
exactly the same.
It's amazing.
And these are letters from all the different presidents. And you can tell the difference when they're in the White House and when they're not, because the seal, when they're in the White House, is white, and the presidential seal, once they've left the White House, is gold. You keep on going.
I picked a couple just at random here. This one's what? Bush?
George Bush? Looks like George Bush, yeah.
George Bush.
And a lot of them up there. There's Reagan.
There's Reagan.
And then there's Clinton. And there's Reagan and my folks at the White House.
And it looks like they're in the Oval Room. Everybody's seen shots of the Oval Room. And it looks like that's the Oval Room.
Evidently, Reagan was broken up.
Yeah, he did. He was really enjoying himself, wasn't he?
Yeah. And, that's Vincent Price. Now, my dad worked with Vincent Price, and I worked with Vincent Price. We did 500 shows together.
Oh, no, that must have been an amazing experience.
Vincent is a marvelous man. They say, gee, did he loved food, but he wasn't a cook, and he wrote all these wonderful cookbooks. But he didn't cook. He knew the recipes, and he loved food, but he was a gourmand.
Yeah.
And he loved to eat, and he was a wonderful, brilliant man, brilliant history man. That's Vincent and myself working in the studio together. He'd come up here and tell Halloween stories.
Yeah.
He'd sit on the porch and tell really.
You were going to help us. We're airing a haunted history this weekend. You were going to help us with that show, but we were doing it about the time of year you left to go down the hill. And even though you've been part of some of our other history shows, you weren't part of this, but you had a story from what I understand.
I had a story about Vincent telling all the kids the stories on the porch, and it included an earthquake and in the story. And the strangest thing was, the next morning at about 6 o'clock, what was that, 1978? Somewhere in there,
yeah.
We had a 5.9 earthquake right at the dam, which shook the area, especially from, I guess, Lagunitas Point to the dam. It really shook us up pretty badly. And this was right after Vincent Price had told the story to the kids about a strange happening in an earthquake. And that's Vincent and my dad doing some of the stories, too. You can keep on going. That's Kirk Douglas. Of course, Kirk Douglas and myself were closest friends for the last 40 years. He was in the helicopter accident with me.
I got a shot. I want to explain to people, this is just a tiny fraction of the number of photos you have in your house. I ran through your house with a camera for 2 hours until you called the police and asked me to leave. And I'm only brought about 20, but there's hundreds. You even have a small little bathroom in there that has 20, 30 photos in there. And
this is a photo. This is Kirk's 75th birthday. And it was a very small birthday at La Caja Full, where the men dress up as women. You can see one on the left there. And Michael, I see there. I'm standing in back of Michael and Peter. And that was a real tiny birthday, but a fun birthday. Kirk didn't like big birthdays. He liked small birthdays like this with just a friend and his sons. You can go to the next one. Walter Matthau, I guess might have been up here somewhere. Walter Matthau was my dad's next door neighbor and close friend. And one of the funniest men you'll ever meet. There were two really great comedians as far as stars go, and they could have been comedians or they could have been motion picture stars. One was Tony Curtis, and the other was Walter Matthau. They were both totally off the wall and incredibly funny. And that's George Burns and
you.
Yeah, not George
Jimmy
Burns.
Durante?
That's Jimmy
Jimmy
Durante
Durante.
and Milton Berle. rather
Oh, my
well.
gosh.
And Jimmy Durante and Milton Berle at a recording session in our studio, and I don't know if that was up here or not. That might have been in the studios we had in Hollywood, but they were really fun.
I'll
do.
bet.
Oh, they
Oh,
were
I
always
bet.
nuts.
Those guys
They
are
were nuts.
hilarious.
That's the shot of my dad passing the baton to me, which was used in the Warner Brothers.
How old were you there, Noel?
9.
9? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a precious picture right there.
And that's kind of an interesting picture, because on the right is working with George Burns when he was quite a bit older than he is on the left, where my dad is working with George Burns and Gracie Allen in a radio studio. There's about 30-year difference between those two pictures, and you could see George aged quite a bit between.
Yeah.
He was about 85 when I did the picture on the right, or 80. That's Rod Serling. Wonderful, brilliant man. We did a lot of work together. Rod died at 53 years old. He used to teach school in Syracuse, New York. He called me up and he said, "You won't believe, I just got out of the hospital. I had a heart attack, and my idiot doctor in California didn't know I was sick. He sent me back to Syracuse to teach school. I was pushing a plow up the road, and I had a heart attack, and I was in the hospital for the last 4 days. That's why I didn't call you." I said, "Oh, Rod, I hope you're feeling better." He says, "Yeah, I'm feeling great." That night he passed away. at 53 years old.
Rod Serling obviously was famous for, for his Twilight Zone series, but you made the comment to me the other day that he was actually, in that series, we all saw him as a very serious guy doing the
Oh,
lead.
he was funny.
But you
There's
said
another
he
comedian,
said he
by
was
the
an
way,
actual
along with
comedian.
Tony
Yeah.
Curtis and Walter Matthau. Rod Serling was one of the funniest guys I'd ever met.
That's hard
And it
to
was
imagine,
a
yeah.
pleasure working with him, and he was a brilliant writer. He wrote most of those Twilight Zones.
Yes.
And they were all wonderful. Well, that's a shot in the little bathroom. On the top is Johnny Carson with my dad. In the middle is a picture you don't really know who that is. That's Al Jolson without the black makeup that he used on the stage.
Yeah.
And on the bottom, that looks like Jack Benny again, and my dad who did the parrot for Jack Benny.
Well, your dad and Jack Benny were very close. from
They
what
were
I
close.
understand.
Jack spent a lot of summers up here. We had a lot of fun with Jack and George Burns. That's another wall. Gosh, up there on the right is George Barris, who did one of the cars that I have. Marty Milner, Route 66 on the right. That's Hefner on the middle there with his red pajamas, and Jack Benny on the bottom, and Tony Curtis you can't see with me in that little picture on the bottom, and that's when we were doing recording sessions. Tony did some wonderful voices for the Flintstones, and then he did some voices for cartoons that we did, half-hour cartoons like Spanky's Magic
didn't know
Piano,
that.
Sparky's Magic Piano. Yeah, he was a great voiceover guy, Tony Curtis. In fact, he was on this show several times when we talked to him, and just before he passed away, he was on the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He got sick the last few years of his life.
Yeah.
And but he was in great shape before that, and all of a sudden, I don't know what it was. I think it was a blood clot, and he was confined to a wheelchair for about the last year of his life, which is really weird.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Noel, I can't even imagine what it must have been like after, when everybody was at your dad's house party, and after about 2 or 3 martinis, and you've got Benny and all these guys there. I mean, to be a fly on the wall and listen to everybody being themselves, and of
Yeah.
course, when you're yourself, you're even funnier.
Yeah.
So, you get a couple drinks under your belt, and
If your home
it
could
must
talk,
have been
yeah.
absolutely
Well, up here was so funny. Then now,
hysterical.
interestingly enough, because up here you get a lot, you get high on one drink. Benny, they drink a half a martini up here,
Yeah.
and then they would be funny. It would be.
You'd be rolling on the
Oh,
floor.
we'd be rolling
I don't
on
know
the
how
floor.
I don't know how you held it together. Any of the reruns, I can hardly handle it. It's so
Yeah.
hysterical.
Yeah, we had a wonderful time.
Must've been great
Now,
times.
the history show is on when? So,
Well, our history show is on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m.,
Yes.
Friday and Saturday nights at 8 p.m. as well.
And during the
And then
day?
during the day, I believe it's 10:30 and
10:30 in
3:30?
the morning and 3:30 in the afternoon
so you
on
can
Correct.
Saturday
see
and
it. You
Sunday.
can see that. You can catch it one of those.
Yeah.
10:30 in the morning.
We're on about 5 times this weekend. In the morning at 10, in the morning Saturday and Sunday at 10:30, and in the afternoons at 3:30, and in the evenings at 8 o'clock.
At 8
All
o'clock.
weekend
These
long.
history
And-
shows are wonderful because they really explore Big Bear, and which is fun to explore yourself, the history of any place you live in. I know a lot of kids now that don't think much about history, but our audience is older than the kids, and we know a lot about history. You know, whether your Mother Goose, who knows this area, and Dave, her son, that came up for the birthday cake, they know the history real well. Gloria, of course, knows
Yes.
everything about history up here. Oh, what was that shot that you just had? Oh, that's a tapestry in the room. I think we did a show with that
Yes.
tapestry. That's the tapestry in the bedroom.
That is a large flat panel TV in the lower right-hand corner. It gives you an idea how big that tapestry is. It goes from the floor to the ceiling, and you have a vaulted ceiling in there. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's that thing. And you look at the bed there on the left. It gives you puts that tapestry in some sort
And you
of
can see how
perspective
messy
there.
our bedroom is.
Well,
Yes,
and
of
I,
course.
With its old furniture, it's kind of funny, too.
I was privileged to actually be able to interview you a couple of times for our movie show.
That's right,
For
you
the
and-
history show.
you and
So
Noel, uh-huh.
that will air
In front
once
of-
in a while,
in front
and
of
we were
that,
in front of that fabulous mural.
Yeah, that was all done with a carpet. I mean, that's all part of a tapestry
it's
carpet.
weaved in,
Yes, all
actually?
weaved in.
Really?
yeah. We got 1 minute. Hey, thanks everybody for being here. I wish we could include everybody in the camera. Switch to the other camera so I can say goodbye to them and shake their hands. Okay. There. Thank you very much. My hand
Thanks
comes
for
up.
having us, Noel. We really enjoy coming and
I'm going to move over here and see.
sharing our
Anyway.
history. Here we go.
Wait,
Here we go.
Here we are.
Okay.
Bobbleheads.
Thanks, you guys, for having us, and
Oh,
be
look
sure
at-
to tune into the
Oh,
history
look at
show.
that. Be sure to tune into the History Show. We're going to have a
Yes.
lot of fun on the History Show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as Porky Pig would say, that's all, folks.